identify the solution that would conduct electricity. So that's your electrolyte. That's your ionic compound. So metal, non-metal, positive, negative.
Will it be either? Wait, so is an electrolyte an ionic compound?
Yes.
Okay. Will it be in formula form?
Yes.
So like NaCl?
Yes. And then on the reverse of that, if it does not conduct electricity, it's a covalent or a molecular. So
Are the same thing.
exactly.
Can you define an ionic compound one more time?
So ionic compound, metal, non-metal, or positive, negative. And it is. I know that there's lots of questions on the test, but it's very doable. You know, some you're going to answer like that. Some you're going to have to take a little bit to do the calculations, but kind of all in all, it should kind of even out. You know, taking you about the class period. But you can't wait until tomorrow to learn how to do Ka and Kb problems and spend 20 minutes on it and expect to get it finished, right? If you don't know how to do them, skip it and go on again. It's 4 points. All right, the next 5 are just calculations. So given the pH, you know, find the H3O plus. Given the pH, find the OH minus. Given the H3O plus, find the pH. Given the H3O plus, find the POH. And then given the H3O plus, find the OH minus. So those are just your pH calculations. So just make sure that you know how to use like whatever calculator you're going to use on the test. So if you haven't been using yours, or if you've been using mine, or whatever the case is, just make sure that you know like how to, you know, do the exponent or how to do the log or whatever the case is. All right, the next one, recognize a strong acid based on ions present in solution. So this is like the beaker question on your homework. So it'll have, you know, different situations. To recognize that it's a strong acid, it's completely ionized. So all ions, none of the original substance. That's how you know it's strong.
Was that the ones that were all like bonded together?
So it had like the HA, and then it had like H plus and A minus. So all H pluses and all A minuses would be strong. If you have some HAs and then some H plus and some A minus, it would be weak.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have the original what?
So if it's strong, it doesn't have any of the original substance. If it's weak, it'll have some of the original substance and some of the ions. So if it's weak, it'll have like HA, and then it'll have H plus, and it'll have A minus, it'll have all 3.
You said completely disassociates?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yep, completely dissociates or ionizes. Okay, Arrhenius base has OH in the formula, and it will give you the formula. Has OH in the formula.
Is that like anywhere in the formula or just like at the?
It'll be anywhere in the formula. We'll make it an OH. I mean, we'll make it an Arrhenius base. So it'll be, you know, like NaOH or something like that. Okay, the next one, recognize weak acid based on ions present in solution. So another beaker question. So because it's weak, it'll have some of the original, so some of the HA, but it'll also have some H pluses and some A minuses. So not 100% ionized. non-electrolyte is something that is not ionic, or something that is covalent, or is molecular. So like hydrocarbons, alcohols. Okay, so the next two I'll talk about kind of together, triprotic, diprotic. So it's going to give you the name of the acid. It's not going to give you the formula. So you're going to have to kind of figure out what the formula is going to be. But all you have to do is look at the negative ion and then put that many H's with it to balance it out. So like if it was carbonic acid, that's just hydrogen carbonate. Well, carbonate's -2. So I would need 2 H's, so it would be diprotic. So triprotic 3 H's, diprotic 2.
You're not gonna give us the formula for the acid? Let's fail.
But it's not, it's okay.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Can you explain that all over again?
So like if it was carbonic acid is just hydrogen carbonate. Because all acids have H's on them, right? And so because carbonate is -2, which you'll get because you'll have this paper, you'll know that because hydrogen is +1, we need 2 hydrogens to balance out the -2 charge. So it would be a diprotic acid. They're easy acids, they're not hard.
If it's hard, then I'm assuming it's
Okay, you go right ahead. Okay, the next one, or actually I guess kind of the next two together. So if you have the base and you're trying to find the conjugate acid, or you have the acid and you're trying to find the conjugate base. So base to conjugate acid, the base is going to gain a hydrogen. So base, ID conjugate acid given base. So the base is going to gain a hydrogen. So from left to right, it gains an H.
So like the conjugate acid would be the one with the given H.
Yes. And then given the acid, identify the conjugate base. So the conjugate base will lose an H from the acid.
Base loses the hydrogen.
So conjugate base, well, the acid loses an H and the conjugate base will gain it. Is how it works.
Yeah.
So like I'm so
The acid loses, sorry, it's okay, never mind. The acid loses, so the conjugate base loses, yes, sorry.
So like if the acid is H2O, then the conjugate base would be H.
Yes, yes, sorry. Alright, the next one, identify the substance that can behave as a bronzosylary acid or base. So it can donate an H and it can accept an H. So if it has an H to give, and then accepting, kind of think about Lewis structure, like does it have room for another H if you drew out the Lewis structure? All right, properties of bases. So they taste bitter. They turn litmus blue. pH greater than 7. Hydroxide ion concentration is greater than hydronium ion concentration. Hydroxide ion concentration is greater than hydronium ion concentration. bases are pink and phenolphthalein. pH, EN, OL, pH, TH,
Oh, I
AL,
forgot the pH.
EIN. If you care about how to spell it.
For no reason.
Can you say that one more time? I forgot the T.
pH, EN, OL, pH, TH, AL, EI.
Can that be a bonus?
Spell phenolphthalein.
Considering that it's like part of one of your test questions, I don't think that'd be a very good bonus.
I'm gonna be a great
That'd be a great one.
But yet there'd be people that would misspell it, so maybe.
It would be me.
Alright, so the properties of acids, it's the opposite of bases. So acids taste sour. They turn litmus red. They have a pH less than 7. Hydronium ion concentration is greater than hydroxide ion concentration.
I was looking at the other one thinking, okay, maybe the other way, and then I went to
And then acids are colorless in phenolphthalein. Okay, relationship between change in pH and change in acidity. There's 2 questions. So remember, every time the pH changes by 1, the acidity changes by a factor of 10. So every time the pH changes by 1, the acidity changes by a factor of 10. So I'll give you an example or a couple of examples. So if I go from pH of 6 to pH of 5, it's 10 times more acidic. So 6 to 5, 10 times more acidic. If I go 6 to 7, it's 10 times less acidic.
So
Right.
the less is more acidic? Like the lower the number
Uh-huh.
is?
And then if I go like from 6 to 8, so then that's 10 times 10 or 100 times less acidic. Or 6 to 4 would be 100 times more acidic.
Because you had it though.
No, I do have it, but like, these are hard questions to word. I'm gonna fail you guys like that.
It'll make our Quizlet for us.
I made a Quizlet for every test in this class. You guys just use me.
Okay, next 4 we'll kind of group together. So given either the Ka or the Kb, you have to identify the strongest and the weakest acid or base. So it'll be like 4 separate questions. So remember, these will all be negative exponents, and that's what matters. So the closer that exponent is to 0, the stronger the acid or the base. The farther the exponent is from 0, the weaker the acid or the base. So for example, if I have something with an exponent of -3 and something else with an exponent of -9, so again, whatever the numbers are in front, the exponent -3 would be the strongest, either acid or base. And the one with the -9 exponent would be the weakest, acid or base. So see, those should be like really easy, like super fast questions that you can, do relatively quick and move on.
Is that the extent of the KAKB model?
No,
Wait, so is this what you were talking about when you said there was 5 KAKB?
No.
I was like, I can do that.
No. There's 5 where you actually have to do the math to like calculate Ka.
Okay, never mind. I can do this.
Okay, that's good.
Not the calculations.
It's like 4 points.
But the calculations are really not hard. Like once
How
you
many
run,
points are there on the test?
do what?
How many points are there on the test?
60.
I quit.
Okay, well, I think I'll get at least like a 7%. Because I can do those 4 questions.
You can do other questions.
7%.
I thought you were gonna say like 70.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. So, and on the next one, you'll be given the formula, like the equations will be written out for you. And you have to recognize either the acid, the base, the conjugate acid, or the conjugate base. So it'll ask you, kind of different things like what's the acid or what's the base. I always start with the acid, right? Because the acid's the thing that loses the H. So that's always where I start. And then the acid that loses the H to become the conjugate base. And then if you figure out those two, the other kind of process of elimination, the base then gains an H to become the conjugate acid.
Well, this shouldn't be very hard either.
I'm so
No.
confused.
Remember, you don't have that one day?
Okay, are these ones gonna be like the matching ones? Because I'm
No.
they confuse me.
No, they'll all be written out for you.
Okay, good.
And then it'll say, which is the acid, which is the base, which is the conjugate acid, which is the conjugate base.
I think I can do that.
And label them, write A and B and A, CB and CA. Like, go ahead and do that, it's not a big deal.
So the acid loses the H to become the conjugate base.
Base,
And the base gains the H to become the conjugate.
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I need that all again, but like dumbed down.
Acid minus
Maybe you should
H.
just do it on the board before
Yeah.
we're super.
Well, because when we did the question earlier, that's why it confused me.
Let's see, I'm trying to
Minus H
not give
equals
you,
CB. Because it's like a balanced equation.
yeah.
On the other side of the equation, it like the one that loses the H is the.
Guys, none of that makes sense.
It'll make sense once you do it. Alright, now identify which one lost an H.
The OH lost an
Oh,
H.
there you
Okay,
go.
so what did it start as over here?
H2O.
Okay, so then the thing that truly lost the H is the acid, because it lost an H to become OH minus. So then if this is the acid losing the H, then the thing it became over here is the
Conjugate base.
conjugate base.
Okay, I just wrote it weird on here.
Yeah, and if you identify those two, then kind of through process of elimination, you don't really have to think about those. So identify your acid and your conjugate base, then the others kind of automatically.
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote it right on here. It just made no sense.
Okay.
When you read it again.
Okay.